Hello, this is going to be my review of the Piwoka action camera, the 4K version. Keep in mind that you might see two different items when you search for this company name that makes these cameras. One is a cheaper version and one is this one, the 4K version, meaning that the highest video resolution setting is supposedly 4K. Overall, I would say this is a great camera if you know which settings to use, and I'm not saying that it's difficult to use the camera, but I've used enough action cameras to know when you should and shouldn't be using certain settings based on what I'm seeing when I play the videos back on my computer. So the first thing is, not shown here, but the camera did come with a docking station for taking out and charging two batteries at the same time, which is really fantastic because it means you don't have to charge the battery in the camera, you charge them in the little box, this little docking station, charge two batteries at the same time. Much faster than if you're charging it in the camera, and you can charge both batteries. There are two batteries included. There's also an external microphone included, I think, remote control. So accessories, very good. Presentation, the look of the camera, I really like the texture here. It just looks like such a cool device, and of course, as you probably saw when you open the battery cover is connected to the camera, which I like. I don't like when it's in the middle of the camera, and it's very hard to actually take off the battery cover, so it becomes like, even if you have two batteries in the docking station, what's the point if you can barely take out the battery? But here, all you have to do is swipe up a little bit, and look at that. The battery cover just comes right off here, and again, so easy, so smooth to take out the battery and then charge both batteries at the same time in the docking station. So this is fantastic. Really, ease of use is just phenomenal here, especially for taking out the battery. Cannot be easier. The look of the camera, like I said, really cool looking device. So back to the settings. No memory card included. You would need to buy a memory card separate purchase. That'll have to be a separate purchase micro SD memory card to hold your footage. The Piwoka action camera, bought this for less than $40 overall on Amazon. I believe there's some coupons available sometimes. So what I wanted to say about the settings is, theirs is a very good camera, but you really, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but you really have to know what settings to use to really record the best video for your money here. And that is, in my opinion, for video, you really want to use the 2.7K setting. So I would say, I don't know if I've ever used the highest resolution setting on any of my cheap action cameras, because on the cheap action cameras, this is really for advertising purposes. The quality can be good on the highest resolution setting, in this case 4K, but more often than not, on the highest setting, 4K in this case, there will be some lag when you play it back on your computer, or play it back anywhere actually. And that's because the number of frames per second isn't very high. And I would like to say, what's the point of having a little bit better quality if the video isn't smooth? So I always go to a lower video setting. In this case, 2.7K 30 frames per second works perfectly with this camera and produces smooth video, which is exactly what I am looking for, 2.7K. And on the photos, I choose 12 megapixels. Photos were very good on this camera. For a cheap action camera, the photos were fantastic. Certainly not going to replace your smartphone camera, but for a cheap action camera, the photos are very good. You'll see some sample photos at the end, and you'll see some sample footage with 2.7K 30 frames per second. So that's what I was going to say here. Just when I use the 1080p 60 frames per second, which is actually my favorite setting, the video was very zoomed in. Don't know how to describe it, but I'm not going to play it back. It just doesn't look very good. Everything looks zoomed in, like you were just zooming in on whatever you're filming. Very strange. It speeds up the video. It's zoomed in. The quality doesn't look very good. So I decided that this was the best setting to use, combination of the smooth video and the decent quality. So when you use 2.7K 30 frames per second, the video quality does turn out to be pretty good, and especially in sunny weather. With a lot of these cheap action cameras, they don't do very well in low lighting, so if you're filming in sunny weather, that is optimal. 2.7K 30 frames per second, as I said, 12 megapixels for the photo setting, and you should be good to go with this camera. Not the best, but it wasn't that expensive, maybe around $40. Did include some nice accessories, and it's super easy to use. The USB cable worked well. That's my review of this camera. I'm going to play some sample videos and show you some sample photos. Really like the texture. Very easy to remove the battery. Super easy, just super convenient. Two batteries included, docking station. Time-lapse feature, which is also very good. For the time-lapse feature, it doesn't have to be super smooth. So I use the 4K 30 frames per second resolution for the time-lapse feature. It's also nice to have that as well. The Piwoka action camera, the 4K version, overall good camera if you use the 2.7K 30 frames per second video setting, and I have no complaints. Not the best camera, but not that expensive, so for me, I'm happy with this purchase as long as I'm using certain video settings. Thanks for watching this video. Some sample videos recorded with this camera, mostly at 2.7K 30 frames per second, and one at 4K 30 frames per second will follow at the end of this video, and together with some sample photos taken at 12 megapixels. 2.7K video test, 30 frames per second. Budget-friendly action camera purchased on Amazon. .7K video test, 30 frames per second. .7K video test, 30 frames per second. Budget-friendly action camera purchased on Amazon. .7K video test, 30 frames per second. 4K video test, 30 frames per second. 4K video test, 30 frames per second. Budget-friendly action camera purchased on Amazon. "4K video test, 30 frames per second. "4K video test, 30 frames per second. "4K video test, 30 frames per second. 4K video test, 30 frames per second. "4K video test, 30 frames per second. 4K video test, 30 frames per second.